Hello everybody, my name is Rebel Corvo and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror movie that you guys suggested en masse, and I saw that Yummy Mice. I've been following Five Nights at Freddy's since its inception in 2014, and anybody that was there for those first three games will tell you that we lost our collective minds whenever that movie got announced. And we only had to wait 8 years. And survive a worldwide supervirus, kill the Queen of England, and watch Markiplier go to the hospital at least 3 times, though the number is definitely much higher. Overall, the reception to the movie was very positive, and it turned out to be a very well written love letter to the fandom that kept the games going for all those years. I personally saw the movie twice whenever it came out, and I haven't seen it since. Therefore, with the second movie right around the corner, I have decided to create this dramatised retelling of the first movie's story without having seen it in 2 years. Enjoy. Once upon a time, not Markiplier was working his wee job at Freddy Faznickel's pizza producing establishment. Upon realising that the robots had decided to go on a wee walk, he decides to haul ass to the nearest exit and gets slide tackled by a pirate wearing shorts. Not Markiplier proceeds to wake up in the chair of imminent demise, and he is unable to stop the face blower upper from tearing him to little bits. This is due to a body odour issue. Cut to the title card where Steve Raglan emotes on the corpses of 5 children after an alcoholic bender across 3 states. We go on to meet our main character, Mike Schmidt. Mike is working a dead-end job in a shopping centre, and he's also the lone caretaker of his little sister Abby. Mike has a very tragic past, with his little brother Archibald getting murked many years prior. This caused Mike and Abby's parents to fuck off to the nearest shop to buy milk for the foreseeable future. But on one day, like any other, Mike and his much funnier friend are reading a book, and not just any book. A book about some stupid theory that suggested that their favourite horror game was actually a dream all along. And upon realising that this theory made a little bit too much sense, Mike flew into a rage, and immediately went and decided to attack a divorced father taking his son out for ice cream during his 1 weekend of custody for the month. Mike got the sack immediately, and the father decided to press charges, and so Mike did the only thing he could do. He contacted Shaggy Rogers, attorney at law. Shaggy suggested that Mike should go and work in the most run-down, disgusting location possible to try and plead insanity, because only a moron or a psychopath would want to work in a place like that. Unfortunately for them, Mike was both. Mike was elated with the opportunity and decided to full-body sprint to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Upon arriving in his new job, he immediately collapsed from exhaustion and had a dream about a bunch of kids, which was weird for Mike because he may be a psychopath, but not that type of psychopath. Mike was rudely awoken by a woman knocking on the front door, but as he opened the door, his blood ran cold. It was a police officer. Had his crimes finally caught up to him? Did she know the truth? Did she know about that little bag of weed he was hiding in the boot of his car? Well, no. Fortunately for Mike, this woman was Vanessa. Somebody who was just as much as a psychopath as he was. So they got on like 2 peas in a pod. Vanessa told Mike all about how Freddy's was in its heyday, how the robots used to bring joy to all those who watched them, how the pizza was the greatest this side of the town, how some sweaty ball bag in a bunny costume murked 5 kids. Wait, what was that last? Upon hearing all this, Mike gets disinterested and decides to head home for the night. The next morning, however, tragedy strikes whenever Mike's evil Aunt Gertrude hatches an evil plan and starts assembling the Avengers to go and blow up Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. She employs the most qualified people she could think of to join this Avengers group. They are as follows. Some guy, a babysitter, an elderly man, a child, and Doug. Fortunately, MatPat arrives and is able to convince Doug not to take part in such a heinous act. MatPat and Doug frolic off into the meadows together and live a long happy life. But hey, that's just a theory. A gay theory! The 4 remaining members of the Avengers decide to go and hatch their evil plan. Their invasion of Freddy's begins, and it lasts roughly 5 minutes. In the span of these 5 minutes, the following happens. Freddy commits vore on a babysitter, Bonnie has an impromptu boxing match with an elderly man in a closet, Foxy takes home gold in the Olympics, and unfortunately, Chica sits there and does nothing. Instead, Chica employs CG5 as the cupcake, who proceeds to jump out of a fridge and eat a child. With the invasion being successfully thwarted and Freddy saved, we cut back to Mike, who hasn't yet realised that Abby's babysitter has been eaten. Due to this, he is forced to bring Abby along with him to Freddy's. This strangely goes off without a hitch, until Mike falls asleep and Abby is mauled to death by the robots. Or so it seems, as they are actually just tickling her. which, while weird, isn't enough evidence for Shaggy to prosecute. And so it seems the robots are actually friendly. Or maybe this is all a means to an end, who knows really. After going back home for the day, nothing of note really happens until night 3, where they return and immediately begin to build a fort with the animatronics. Vanessa is also present for some reason, I do not remember why. Unfortunately, Bonnie takes a hard tumble and has to be rushed to hospital. It's revealed that he has broken both his legs, but being the resilient boxer he is, they bring him back home to finish the fort for the night. I guess you could say night 3 is a real fortnight. Upon finishing the fort and going for a nap, Abby startled Freddy by accident, who activates his Freddy Faz taser and zaps her shit, sending her flying 10 feet across the building. They grab her and get out of there, with Vanessa immediately pulling her strap on Mike, and not the fun kind. Please, officer, I only had a gram.
I will shoot you.
Mike decides some changes need to be made. First things first, he is forced to hire evil Aunt Gertrude to watch Abby, an act that enraged the young girl. But the grind never stops, and Mike heads off to work. Approximately 33 minutes and 24 seconds later, Aunt Gertrude gets curb stomped by a golden Freddy, and he kidnaps Abby, throwing her into a taxi driven by some guy, I don't know who that is. Meanwhile, Mike has a drug-induced dream at work about some random murdered kids again who start beating the shit out of him because they want his sister. Mike is not okay with this, not out of concern for Abby, but rather because this will be detrimental for his ongoing legal battle with the divorced dad from earlier. Mike awakes to find himself in the chair of imminent demise, which he easily escapes from because unlike the guard from earlier, he does not have a BO problem. At some point he has a conversation with Vanessa, I don't remember when. I just remember that she tells him something about him being, her being related to a serial killer, that's Mark Mike's brother, Archibald, I think I called him, and that he's coming to kill Mike now for some reason. Sorry. Mike is reasonably pissed, and he goes back to Freddy's on a warpath, and if it's convenient, maybe to see if his sister lies in the area. But Iron Mike Schmidt doesn't take any fucking prisoners, and so he decides to use his Fazbear brand robot blower upper gun to start shooting the animatronics, with a stray bullet hitting Chica right in the head and accidentally saving Abby from the suit of instant murder. Mike thinks he has the upper hand, when suddenly a huge yellow bunny turns the corner and hits him a flying knee to the abdomen. Soon after, the bunny removes his mask, and he proudly announces, "That's right, Mike. It was me all along. Steve Raglan." Who the fuck is Steve Raglan? Mike and his lawyer get into a bit of a heated argument over the ethics of a lawyer who commits murder on the side, but Raglan has the upper hand. Until... Yo, robots! Isn't that the guy who killed you?
Don't be stupid, he isn't. Hey, hold on a minute.
Jump him, lads! Fools! I am completely impenetrable to any of your attacks. Perhaps if I was wearing my other suit of instant demise. I believe I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment this evening, gentlemen. Perhaps if I put my mask back on, it will help stunt the bleeding.
On the contrary, this is much, much worse.
Well, at least that's him dealt with.
Good gods, it's puncturing me lobe!
Raglan is dragged to the back by the animatronics for immediate medical attention, with Mike and Abby just kind of accepting the fact that he's dead without checking. For some reason, the building starts collapsing as well. Oh, and by the way, Vanessa also got stabbed. Skill issue, to be honest. And to end our story, Vanessa is in a coma, Aunt Gertrude's dead, Steve Raglan loses his license to practice law in the state of Utah, and Bonnie spends 6 months in therapy to mend his broken legs and eventually regains the ability to walk. To finish us off, Mike ponders what he should have for his dinner, when Abby turns to him and sadly asks if she can ever see her friends again. To which Mike responds, "Fuck up, we're having spaghetti."